Hey Bayek, it's me Ian, and in today's video, yes, I've come to it. Is this perhaps the greatest Dalek episode? Is it even amongst the greatest episodes of Doctor Who? It is, of course, Genesis of the Daleks from 1975, the Fourth Doctor's first season, and what a brilliant start to Tom Baker's period as the Fourth Doctor. I mean, he just fits into the role brilliantly, but does this really justify the praise that is given to it, and constantly voted in polls in the top, at least the top 3 greatest Doctor Who stories? I think as years have moved on with the new series, there's certainly been a move towards some of the stories there, but this still consistently is up there. And I'm going to talk to you today and tell you that I think this may well be justified as well. I mean, we consider in many ways this is the classic period of Dalek stories, really. Also, Tom Baker only had 2 Dalek stories as well. This and Destiny of the Daleks. But, you know, before that we had some real classic Dalek stories. I mean, we've had the very first Dalek story, the Daleks. Then I think Dalek Invasion of Earth is an absolute cracker. The Second Doctor, for instance, look at his Dalek stories. Power of the Daleks, Evil of the Daleks, amazing story. Note again, there's not loads of them, which is interesting. And then the Third Doctor, I really love the Third Doctor's Dalek stories. Planet of the Daleks, Day of the Daleks, and Death to the Daleks, which some people perhaps don't like as much, Death to the Daleks, but I would argue Death to the Daleks is a great story as well. And then we've got this, and let me just talk about it now. This is directed by David Maloney. David Maloney, established Doctor Who director, and wow, look at some of the stories he directed, going back to the Second Doctor, Mind Robber, Crotons, the War Games. Yes, he directed the War Games. Then he did Planet of the Daleks, and then if we look ahead, Deadly Assassin, which again is often way up there as one of the greatest episodes. Listen to this as well. Talons of Wayne Chang. He directed that. Again, always up there as a classic Doctor Who stories. Don't forget, this is the golden age of Doctor Who. It really is. It's why Doctor Who is where it is today, basically. It brought Doctor Who to an even wider audience in many ways, and that Doctor Who was not just a child's tea time show. The adults were very much part of that, and of course this story in many ways typifies the major shift under Philip Hinchcliffe and scriptwriter, editor Robert Holmes. They really changed this series, the direction, and it became much more adult orientated. So we've got that, and the script was originally it was written by Terry Nation, and this came about when they kind of looked at his script that he'd put in, the previous producer, Barry Letts, and they said, can't we have something a bit different? How about a story about the beginning of the Daleks, the genesis of the Daleks, which of course became the title. And he agreed and went away and wrote this brilliant story, absolutely brilliant story. And of course, with Robert Holmes as script editor, David Maloney as director, they really did something to this script. They really elevated the script, as we will see. It's just an amazing story. Let's have a quick look at the cast. Of course, we've got Tom Baker again as the Doctor, and then we've got the two brilliant companions. We've got Elizabeth Sladen playing Sarah Jane. We've got Ian Marter again as Harry. I really love this. You can't believe that this is the first season of the Fourth Doctor. You can't believe it, can you? It's just an incredible way everybody's into the role. Fantastic. And then, of course, we've got, I think, the real masterstroke is Michael Wisher as Davros. Wow. What a performance. And what a design as well of Davros. The mad scientist, the half-human machine almost. The way he's portrayed is fantastic. The design. In fact, this is interesting. It was actually seen as influenced by a comic book character, the Mekon. Yes, from The Eagle. The Eagle was a brilliant comic, and this was from the Dan Dare adventures. Wow, this was influenced by the Mekon, definitely. But everything about the performance that Wisher does as Davros, in many ways, people think this is the greatest version of Davros because we've had other actors doing it. The voice, everything about it is just fantastic. Just a couple of other mentions. We've got Peter Miles, a brilliant plays Nida. And we've got Stephen Yardley playing Severin. Wonderful. Just to point out that the preceding episode is actually the Sontanan experiment. So I think they kind of expected the Doctor, when they appear, to be a bit shocked by all this, because I think they weren't quite expecting the Time Lord intervention, and this is brilliant. The opening scenes, incidentally, when you see the Time Lords on the battlefield, it sets the whole tone, the whole dark tone of this. And some people have even seen it as reminiscent of Ingmar Bergman's Seventh Seal, which is a real art house film from the late 50s. This is showing you the quality of Doctor Who already. It's all there, and this scene with the Time Lord is fantastic. And we get immediately introduction. Then we've got Harry and Sarah appear, and we soon get into the real story. I just can't talk about enough about it, really. Anyhow, this was actually filmed after the Revenge of the Cybermen, and though it's the penultimate story of the season, and what a story it was. I mean, I remember watching this on transmission, and as was the case in those days, when you had a whole week, of wondering what on earth was going to happen. What on earth is happening? You can say to yourself. And it was talked about, and everybody loved it. Something, sadly, we've lost, I think, nowadays. Sometimes, with all this streaming and people just watching like that. We miss some of that when on original when they transmit a story. It's wonderful. I love it. And, of course, the story as well, in typical Doctor Who fashion, had some wonderful cliffhangers. for me, one of the great, wonderful cliffhangers is with Sarah Jane falling down. You know, they're going up the rocket, the big rocket, and she falls. And you think, oh no, of course you know that she will be all right. But and the way it's freeze framed as well, it's just wow, it's just incredible. You want to know what happens. There's so many scenes like this in Genesis of the Dalek. It just keeps you wanting more and loving the story. I mean, you almost think this story would have made a great film as well. You know, it's such a wonderful story. It's Doctor Who at its best. So this origin story of the Daleks is such a wonderful analogy of Nazism, really, because it really delves into that dark area. I mean, it's all there, the Nazi symbols, the dark black uniforms, the salute, the madness of Davros, the racial purity storylines about the Daleks. You know, this, I mean, the story, as we've seen, of the Thals and the Khalids, because you realise the anagram almost of the Khalids, you know, the Dalek name coming, and it's great. It typifies in many ways what happened in Germany, the struggles that went on, and the Nazis, how they took power, and just like Davros, with the aid of his supporters, his black shirted supporters, you could say, those in uniform, how they take power and how they manipulate everything. This is just wonderful stuff. So the Doctor is there, sent by the Time Lords to try and find out and stop the development of the Daleks, who basically are seen now as a real threat and what they've done and what they will do to the whole galaxy. And Tom Baker's Doctor, the Fourth Doctor, is there to stop this, to find out what it is and hopefully stop it or delay some of the things that happen. And of course, what happens here beautifully in the story, we get great scenes about the moral dilemmas, you know. Have I the right to see? I mean, if you pick Doctor Who classic moments, that scene where he debates real philosophical questions about has he the right to stop their development and creation, we get that scene, and that is absolutely shows you the height now that this story has elevated, how it's real adult stuff. Yes, there still is that you haven't got the tone, maybe as much of the humour. It's still there bits, but it really gets down to business, this story. And I think the 6 parts work well. I love the way it progresses, and everything about this story is just wonderful. The way it was produced, the music, even the way that is, just it's there. The only weakness I think in this whole story is perhaps scenes like I think it's with Harry, when he's in these cave tunnels, and there's the mutations, and the budget perhaps hadn't quite stretched with the mutations, and they do look a bit not dodgy. But I can get out. It's Doctor Who, for goodness sake. It's Doctor Who. I can forgive him that. That would be the only weakness I would see in this story. But it's still, you can overcome that and accept that, because the other point is the other special effects and the makeup, the uniforms, everything about it is just spot on. And the direction as well, the way the director is able to, you see the menace of the Daleks. And lighting is so important. And that dark and the way they're lit, it's just amazing. You watch it and you think this is just quality. It's cinematic. It is. It's just absolutely elevates the story even higher, and that is because of the direction and the acting. I say all these actors beautifully play the parts. Everybody contributes. Some may argue there's a bit of Doctor Who overacting, but no, I don't think there is. I think it's all there. It's all taken seriously. It's not treated as a pantomime at all. This was a danger in the later years of the Fourth Doctor, that sometimes it became slightly more pantomime in some stories. That was often when Tom Baker's humour was totally unleashed. But here, everything is right. And as I can't believe this is the first series of the Fourth Doctor. And what a wonderful, wonderful story it is. And I think it's justified. I think everything I've just talked about, the 6 parts for me never dragged. They were all exciting. You know, I was there watching this on transmission in 1975. I was 14 years old, because it was in the first half of the year. I think it's March and April these were transmitted. And I was a teenager watching this, still watching Doctor Who, always there, right from being, 5-year-old right up to this. I was still there watching Doctor Who and loving it. I mean, I was one of these people who thought, well, I love the Third Doctor, and I thought, well, how are they going to follow this? And with even, watching Robots straight away, you realise how quickly Tom Baker fitted into the Fourth Doctor's role. He's just fantastic. Everything is so quickly established. Sometimes it takes doctors a little while to establish. It didn't with the Fourth Doctor. The Fourth Doctor was in there straight away and just brilliant. And now, as I say, Hinchcliffe and Holmes are the combination that have brought the quality back to Doctor Who. I think the Barry Letts era is fantastic. The Third Doctor, that's real quality as well. That's why I say I keep repeating it, but this is such a great time to watch Doctor Who. If you've never seen any of these shows, what on earth have you been doing? You need to see these. You need to see these classic stories and realise how good, and in many ways, for me, this is Doctor Who at its height. Yeah, I know I'm just an old man now talking away, but the Doctor Who, as much as I love a lot of the new Doctor Who era, there's been some great stories. Though I would contend, I often say this, people ask me, the best Dalek story of the 2005 era of Doctor Who, for me, is the very first one, Daleks, the Ninth Doctor story, because it's got such an emotional background to that story. It's a great story. I absolutely love that, the performance. The Daleks have appeared quite a lot. In fact, I think sometimes too much in the New Doctor era, and that story just really touched me. I thought it was a brilliant story, and it's up there with the great Dalek stories. A lesson, I think, is that we shouldn't have too much Daleks. They should really get back to basics with the Daleks and get something that is different, really different angle on the Daleks. I'm sure the creativity is there to do it, and that's what they need to do, because the Daleks and Cybermen have just become too familiar now, it's them again, and there's not like this sense. I mean, when this story, is an epic story. It was something that really stood out, and you thought, wow, this is something special. And as the years have gone, the fans have really appreciated this story. And as I say, it's consistently voted one of the greatest Doctor Who stories. It's a story you can just talk about and talk about. There's so many aspects to it. I don't want to ramble on too long because you need to discover this story. Yes, you need to actually watch this. Yes, yes. If you've not seen it, please watch this story. It is fantastic. Absolutely. Um, I think I should well not go on too much more. All I will talk about is when it was released on VHS, which was quite interesting at the time. They released it with the Sontaran experiment. Yeah, they released the two-parter with this. I remember having the two tapes of this, and it was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. It was a great cover design. I've got rid of all VHS things, but if there was one I would keep for sentimentality, it would be that story. But there's no point, really. That's just me being sentimental. But it was then released on DVD in 2006, and this is the one. It's a 2-disc set. And you can see it there. And just a quick look to the side. What makes this 2-disc set important is it's got the second disc. You see the little booklet as well. You always have a little nice leaflet booklet like that. What makes this disc so interesting is that they did a new brilliant documentary on this story, and when you watch it now, you feel quite sad about, because some of the people are still not with us. Like, you see Sarah Jane, Elizabeth Sladen talking about a time, and it's just, but it's a great documentary and really informs you. And then, of course, the 2018 release, if you want proper classic Doctor Who, what better way than get this? This is, I think it is now released on a normal Blu-ray set. I would get that. If you want one representation, this is the whole of that season 12, and it's fantastic. There's all the documentaries. There's also the television sort of edit movie they did, because they often used to show edits, fitting them in repeats. So you've got that on here as well, but of course you can't beat the original. Also, they've improved some of the surround sound as well on this. This is excellent. I'm really pleased to have this. I love this whole series. Yeah, this is great. So there's that. That's how I've got my representation. So if you can get hold of this, if you can't get hold of that, I'm sure you can pick this up quite cheaply still. It is the story to have, I would say. You've got to have this. No collection is complete without this. It really isn't. So that's it, really. Hope you enjoyed that. Put your comments. I'm sure there's people who disagree with me about this story, but it's just one of those fantastic stories that I'm still enthusiastic, and I feel so happy in a way that I was there watching this originally on its transmission, and just all these years later, I can still watch it and enjoy it and feel that thrill of it. Anyhow, okay, so all I say is, please, if you've enjoyed this and you want to know more when I'm putting out these videos, please subscribe, and then we'll let you know. And then if you like this, well, please give it a like. It's free, cost note, and it helps, more people hear about the videos. They see them and all that sort of stuff. Anyhow, All I've got to say, as usual, is I'll see thee, and I'll see thee again.